Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of 100 Words or Less, the podcast. I'm your host, Ray Harkins. Episode 51, I'm going to be speaking to Sean Carlson. He puts on a festival out here in Los Angeles, California called FYF Fest, or commonly known to the cool kids as FYF Fest. More on him in a minute. PropertyIsZach.com. It's a great website. They just did a very funny March Sadness poll where basically they pitted emo bands versus emo bands, and you voted on them, and the ultimate winner was a band called Dads, who is the modern day king of emo, I guess they're crowned as. But it was just a fun way for people to kind of vote and think about things like, oh, Jimmy Eat World versus Brand New. I mean, Jimmy Eat World, in my opinion, should win. But anyways, PropertyIsZach.com, great content. Go visit there. I enjoy them. You should enjoy them as well. Go to the website, 100wordspodcast.com. And if you are feeling ever so generous, you can go to iTunes, drop some reviews. I did want to give a shout out to a person in the UK. The UK, you're so nice to the show. I really do appreciate that. A person named E. Friendly, who just kind of put it all out there. And I agree with every word he says because that is the goal of the show. Thank you, E. Friendly. And if you are feeling so generous, just drop some stars or drop some sentences, whatever you're feeling like, or we're getting close to that 100 review mark, which is awesome. Please keep doing that. I appreciate that. Sean, let's get back to Sean. I've known him since he was like 14 years old. We'll get into that. And we had a really, really long conversation. I had the feeling that even when I cut it off, we could have probably gone for another 2 hours or so. Yeah, so he does this really cool thing where basically he is the guy that puts on shows in Los Angeles. If you are a cool band or a cool artist, you're probably talking to him to have him do your show and promote your show. He also does really cool partnerships with Vans. I don't know if you've heard of the House of Vans shows that happen in Brooklyn. He helps put those on. And it's just incredible to see the sort of, I dare use the word empire because he's not Jay-Z. You know, he just does a lot of cool stuff. And I've always admired the work that he's done. And putting on this fest, for anybody that doesn't know it, just go to fyffest.com. You can see previous lineups. It's basically everything under the sun, from, you know, punk and hardcore stuff to whatever the coolest indie band is at that moment. And it's just incredible. It's like 20,000 people in downtown Los Angeles. It's crazy. I couldn't even imagine the logistics. And speaking of logistics, another self-plug right here. This week, actually this day that this podcast gets released, I do a festival with one of my good friends, Joey Cahill, who runs 6131 Records. And we do a fest called Sound and Fury. We announced the first lineup today. Go check it out, soundandfuryfest.com. So there you go. Nice little subtle plug in there. Anyways, Sean's a great dude. You'll be able to hear all about it. Something that has been on my mind recently. And I don't know if this is the something that's been on my mind recently segment or not, but I feel like I do it every other episode. Now that I personally am 32 years old, and it's funny because all these bands that I watched growing up and going to shows who I thought were so much older than me, just different worlds. Now I'm coming to find out where it's just like, oh yeah, they're like 4 or 5 years older than me. Like, that just seems crazy now. Whereas back then it was like, you know, I'm 16 and they're 4 or 5 years older than me. And that's like, they're getting into their 20s. That's like, holy shit, that's like a world of difference. But it's just funny where the older you get, that age gap just grows smaller. So enough about me blabbering. Here is my interview that I did with Sean, where we talk about so much shit. Inspiration. He was super into pranks as a kid. Criticism. A lot of people like to talk shit on Sean, and we talk about that. So check it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. That'd be a total great.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is, my favorite shows are the ones that are surprises.
Yeah.
Where you're like, whoa, that's
Oh
happening.
shit, that's happening? Yeah.
Rather, because it's difficult, like, you can still be equally as stoked when it's months of planning and you, like, are thinking about seeing that band and hearing that song.
Yeah.
But when something is spur of the moment and has that...
It's a curveball, yeah.
It has that vibe and that sense of danger and shit's gonna be wild.
Yeah.
And even if it's in a proper setting, it's amazing.
It totally is.
There was, December of 2011.
Uh-huh.
Off decided to do a record release show.
Right.
It all revolves around. And so they decided to do a record release show at this place called The Sex downtown. The Sex was like a warehouse space.
Okay.
But it was like a hangar that they built into a venue. Awesome, like 600 cap room.
Yeah.
And just like good sound and good vibe, but it wasn't done legally.
Sure.
And they just didn't have like the proper restrooms, all of it, but awesome vibe.
Right.
So they do the show there and they advertise it everywhere. Free show with off at The Sex. So when you advertise it in LA Weekly, they're going to catch wind of it. The band didn't know.
Right.
And so the band shows up. There's 400 kids in line by the time the band shows up. And then right before doors, fire marshal shows up and police show up like this.
Yeah.
No gun, no dice. And I told them, they're like, oh, we want to do it ourselves. I was like, that's totally fine. I don't need to do the show. I'll put it up on the FYF Facebook. So I get a call and Dimitri's like, show's canceled, Sean. Do you think you can do anything? I was like, I'm watching The Simpsons right now. At home, like it's 7:30 on a Friday.
Right. What can I pull together?
And he's like, see what you can do. And I was like, all right. And I knew this venue on Melrose that was like an art space / venue that held like 300 kids.
Yeah.
And the owner was really relaxed of it. I was like, I wonder if they have a show going on there. So I drive down there and I call the guy. I was like, hey, where are you at? He's like, oh, I'm around the corner from the shop. I was like, can you meet me there right now? He's like, what's the big deal? I was like, meet me there right now. So it's like 8 o'clock. And I go there, and Dimitri's like waiting, texting me. He's like, what can we do?
Yeah.
I was like, hey man, I have a show. I'll give you $500. And he's like, I have a show tonight. I was like, how many people are going to be here? He's like, I don't know, like 20, 30. Like, I'll give you $500. It's going to be fucking packed.
Yeah.
If we can cancel that show right now.
Right.
Like, dude, I was like, it's all local bands. I'll talk to them. I'll make it up to them.
Yeah.
He's like, all right. So I called Dimitri. I was like, tell everyone it's at this address. So he starts telling all the kids there. And we put up on Facebook within 30 minutes. It's packed. Like,
Sure, of course. Everyone's
kids.
there. Yeah.
Their show is supposed to start at 10 o'clock. So the other bands show up and they're like,
What? Yeah, they're like, dude, it's incredible. They're like, oh, dude, you did a great job promoting this time.
and it was just like, dude,
You're like, I'm
really
sorry.
Like, and they were like, OC's no bunny off. I was like, just be cool with this. And they were like, okay. And then one kid didn't take it easily, but he.
Yeah.
But it was just the vibe of the show. People were just like,
well, of course.
This is like spur of the moment.
Yeah, totally. When it's like you obviously hear about something word of mouth as opposed to seeing it advertised. That gives that general, like you said, that vibe where it's like, oh this is incredible.
Yeah, and it had that.
Yeah.
So that was a good night, and it worked out, and it all worked on that.
Yeah, for sure. That's super fun. But basically, I'll just walk you through your life. Obviously, if I hit on anything that you're like, I don't want to talk about this.
Oh, totally, man. I've got no secrets, man.
Yeah.
I've got nothing to hide. I've got no secrets. I was actually talking to a friend yesterday because like people perceived like rumors spread and it's like telephone,
of
where
course.
it's like this like. I've heard numerous things like "fuck Sean Carlson," and I was like, "I have no enemies. I have nothing against." There's people that like I don't want to work with,
right.
And then if you ask me, there's nothing personal. I'm just like, I don't like the way they do business, and we don't get along, and we shouldn't do business together,
right?
And we don't see eye to eye. Totally fine.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of days ago. They talk and it's like
of course.
It was very like the 90s hardcore scene where they're like, oh fuck that guy,
of
he broke
course,
his.
Totally.
Oh, he did this. Oh fuck him, man, he ripped off this guy.
Yeah.
And then like the rumors would spread and people would have their opinion based on the person without ever meeting them.
Of course.
And it was just, it's all very childish. And I remember like partaking in that and just talking shit. And I was like, wait, I'm not that type of person at all.
Right,
like,
right. Well, it's easy to get swept up in that stuff because, like, obviously, like you're saying, especially when you're younger, it's easy to be like, oh yeah, fuck that guy. Like, but you've never, like you said, never met them, have no context for them.
I'm gonna put these guys outside.
That's fine. Yeah.
Roll in the dirt.
Roll in the dirt, get dirty.
The deck in the bathroom is just sand. We just dig back there.
Hours and hours.
I just have to sweep my house every like 3 days.
Yeah.
One time when I moved in here, I had a girlfriend that she did the cleaning.
Yeah.
And then we're still friends. And she came over. She's like, "You need a maid." And I was like, "I sweep twice a week. I mop."
Try to stay on top of it.
It's just so hard.
Yeah.
And it's just like the little one is just this accumulation of dirt, and then just
trails it.
And
for
just
sure.
eats everything and just vomits. And just I have to keep my like literally, it's just like my eyes are on them.
Yeah, just like
this whole week he's been throwing up just from like putting everything in his mouth. It's like
right, you're like
I really feel like a crazy parent.
Right.
It's like always looking at him and like nursing him. Like, it's okay.
Right. So just don't do that. Don't eat that. That's not good for you. I usually start these things off with just my own like personal memory entry points. Obviously, like you as an individual.
I know that the memory is me naked statement.
Well, no. That is that is one So I just remember, well, two distinct memories. One, like you mentioned, obviously the naked stage dive. Was that at Showcase or was that at Chain? Okay.
And can I tell you the origin behind the naked stage dive?
Okay.
The story behind it. So my friend Matthew Strugar, do you know Matthew?
Yeah.
Okay, Peter. I met him when he toured with International Noise Conspiracy.
Right.
And they played Chain, and we immediately hit it off. I was like, this guy is fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
He was heckling Midtown and their merch people, and because like Gabe was getting a massage at the merch table, and he was like, "Are you fucking serious?"
It's this chain reaction.
And he's like, and it was like, dude, and he's just harassing, and he's hysterical, and he's just saying all sorts of shit to everyone. There's like 800 people in Shane, and it was International Noise Conspiracy, and then the openers were thrice Midtown Hot Rod Circuit.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He was having a field day just being a smartass. And so I was like, I really like this guy. He's like, man, you're the only person I like from LA that I met. Fuck everyone else here. What's your phone number? And he writes it down in a book, and it was pre-cell phone. And so like 4 months later, he calls me. He's like, hey, I moved out here. What's up? What are you doing? I was like, I'm going to see the Blood Brothers. So he's like, they're playing? Fuck yeah, I'll pick you up. You don't drive, do you? I was like, I'm 15. He's like, that's awesome. And so he takes me to the Blood Brothers show, and like we end up hanging out, and he's awesome.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, in Richmond, man, at Avail shows, everyone would do naked stage dives. It was a big thing. And I'm thinking, naked stage dive, people have to hold you up. This is an incredible concept. It's like, I need to bring this concept to Los Angeles. And I was like, this is fucking amazing.
Right.
And so I didn't have the confidence and like.
Well, I mean that's a big thing to do.
Well, granted, it couldn't happen now with iPhones and be on the internet.
Of course.
And sadly, there is a video of me stage diving naked on the internet.
Yeah.
But
as there should be.
the off topic.
Yeah.
But so he's and like we're talking about it, and it's just stuck in my mind. I was like, God, that's really funny, the naked stage dive.
Yeah.
And so I was watching your guys' shows, your last show, Chain Reaction, and it was really serious and emotional.
Of course.
And I was just like...
I'm going to lighten the mood here.
Yeah. I was just like this, and it was really packed. And I remember the security guards at Chain, I don't remember their names, but they'd be like this, dude, you got to stop fucking around. Because at one show we did, 3 of us did seizures in different parts of the room, and just to mess with security in the crowd. Right. And so, like, there's 3 emergencies at once.
Right, at once.
And they realize it's me. They're like, dude,
you're like, God damn it. Yeah.
And I was like, you're just making our life hard. Granted, here I am doing shows, and I'm like, when kids make my life hard, I'm totally understandable. I was like, as long as you're not drunk and you're doing it to make your friends laugh, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Just don't get anyone else hurt, and don't do anything too dumb.
Exactly.
And so your show, I was just like standing there, and I was like, man, fuck this.
Yeah.
And I was like, Brian, he's like, can you hold my clothes? He's like, what are you gonna do? I was like, and I went behind the guitar amps and just took my clothes. I got on stage and no one
no one knew.
And I waited for halfway through the set, so security was like, shit's gonna run itself. We'll just go outside and talk about nothing.
Yep.
And dove into the crowd.
It's amazing.
And I just remember your bass player. He's like this.
Yeah.
He's just like, dude. And he just hits the ground. And the look on your face is you're still singing. You're like, and I was singing along naked, and my legs were open,
right.
And I'm just like, in my flabby 16-year-old body that obviously never lifted a weight in the air, and it's just there, and my ass is on the kid's head, and he's punching me like this, and he stuck because it was so crowded,
right.
I stayed up, and then I rolled and got him to the ground,
and
then to make it more awkward, I started circle pitting.
Of course, why not?
And it was just like one dude was like, whoa, 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 and I was just like. And then all of a sudden I get the yank from me, security's like, dude, and then just standing there naked.
That's so incredible.
He was just like, don't do that again.
Yeah.
Please don't. And I put on my clothes, and everyone looked at me the rest of the set.
Oh, I can imagine they were just like, what's that guy going to do?
And I was just like, I did it. That was good.
That type of stuff obviously is super fun. But then the other memory I have, I'm fairly certain it was a show at Showcase that Taken played. And for whatever reason, and this kind of goes to, I know what people have said about you, today. You had this, I Heart President Johnson t-shirt. It was just, I have no fucking clue, where you got it. But it was one of those things, I knew you, we were friendly. You were just like, Ray, I have this shirt. I can't even remember the explanation of what you gave to me. But you were like, if you wear this will be fucking awesome. It was just you were, sincere. I couldn't say no. It was one of those things, I was put on the spot. All right, you've been nice, you're enthusiastic about it, and so I wore that shirt. I still have pictures of and it's just this pink shirt, total thrift store.
Yeah, and I remember buying that at a thrift store, and I was like, God, this would be really awesome if someone wore President LBJ. I was
Yeah.
like, one of the most hated presidents of all time.
Totally.
It didn't even win an election. That was just put into presidency. And I was like, and here's this band that's like political, emotional, smart, forward thinking. And I was like, yeah. And it's pink. And I remember it was so small.
Super small.
And that was the day I went and spent $10 at the 99-cent store on confetti,
Yeah.
and I brought a dodgeball to...
Oh, yeah.
And
Sure.
Because my whole attitude then at 15 was like, I love punk rock and hardcore, but I love when you can bring the humorous side into things. Because like I really appreciated like No Reply at the PCH. But they didn't play, like you guys played bigger shows, and you guys had a really... and I appreciated the serious fan base, but in Orange County, the hardcore kids were like really serious.
Oh, super serious.
And like, especially like I couldn't hang in like the Throwdown 18 Visions where
that was
too weird. But like I loved like you guys, Curl Up and Die, Dirty Dirts and the Dirts, like stuff that made me happy.
Totally.
And I was like, what could we do is fun? I remember buying like $10 in confetti and throwing it into the crowd at the show. And afterwards, someone at the showcase was like, is that you that threw the confetti in there? I was like, yeah. He's like, try to pick that up off the ground, and it was stuck to the ground. And he's like, I'm gonna get you a broom. And I just walked up the back.
You're like, yeah.
I think it was Joe, and they were so
bummed.
And there's kids after the show just covered in confetti.
Right.
And I remember that was just making.
I know, and it's just funny because it's like I've never done that, nor probably will I ever do that again. And it was just one of those things where it's like people, whatever past press and stuff like that about you has been like. Sean could get people to say yes, like, just on your enthusiasm, like, just the way that you are, and, like...
Well, and it's just, like, I just wanted to have fun.
Right.
Like, really, like, I loved shows. I loved being at shows for the environment and the social and hanging out with friends and the emotional pull that music had.
Yeah.
But I really loved when it brought people together. And punk rock and hardcore did that the best. You don't get the intimacy value.
Totally.
But, like, going to the PCH club and playing handball with kids.
Oh, unbelievable.
Or coos. Or just doing, like... playing dice in front of shows. I remember when I discovered quarters and I went to Chain Reaction, was making tons of money, and security was like, you can't be gambling out here.
Right,
and I was like, dude, I'm winning every game, because if you hit the wall, you lose, and I win the money, and I would let them go first, and then I would just win the money.
Yeah.
And I just remember like things, but it was all in like doing the zine, and just because my attitude was like, okay, I don't play in a band, I don't put out records, I'm gonna do a zine, I'm gonna get my friends to like write in it, and it's just like, and we're gonna talk about the bands that we like, and it was really like just contributing and finding something and making it more enjoyable.
That's what it's always struck me about you, and honestly why watching your lineage over time and like what you decided to do quote unquote professionally. I never participated in any of the like Sean, like man, like because obviously like you become a target when you're in a certain position, and it's like anytime anybody has said anything like remotely negative about you, I've just been like, dude, I like Sean's awesome. Like,
yeah, I got literally zero secrets, nothing. There's no one I fucked over. There's a couple bands where it's like I don't want to work with them anymore.
Right.
And like if you sat me and the band down in the room, I mean, I wouldn't even like have heated words. Just be like, you know what, we don't need to work together anymore. Like we're not seeing eye to eye on this. Like there's plenty of other promoters.
And plus, it's like you look at the amount of people that you come across in the line of work that you do. You're not gonna have 100%.
Oh, and then you're
spot-free record.
Totally. Oh man, when I was younger, I was much more naive doing shows. I remember there was one show at 6th Street Warehouse, was like the venue that we obviously didn't know, but we like did a series of shows there for 8 months. That was just like every weekend or like every other week. There's one show with Defiance, Ohio, and a bunch of local bands. Yeah. And I would count the money and I would separate it in my pocket. This is my mindset then, not putting it in envelopes and writing down band names.
Right.
And so the sound money was $250 to pay the sound company and pay the sound guy. And then it was $40 on the side for the opener. Yeah. It was a 20 and 21s. And then the rest was like 20s and like 5s.
Sure.
Right? And then I paid the opener the sound money, and the opener looked at me and was just like, fuck, dude, you're the best. Thank you for taking care of us. And me being a 22-year-old was drunk at that point. Was like, right. Yeah, awesome. Didn't even see them play. I was outside. I was just like,
right, sure.
That's really, I was like, cool,
great.
I'll give you guys $40. Give the sound guy the money. Next day, I get a voicemail. Like, Sean, it's cool you tried to rip me off. You got to like 5 o'clock today. I'm not working your shows anymore. You gave me $40. And I was like, oh, that's why the band was really happy. It's like, that sucks. And I was like, oh, you know what? I made someone happy. Right. Like, I didn't even really care at that point. I was just like, I fucked up. And then at that point, I was like, always double checking the money. Right. Always triple checking like the offers and going over and making sure. Because I never, like, there was an incident at a show a couple months ago that the money at the very end didn't add up right. Sure. And then I enveloped everything. I was like, God, thought I triple checked it.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening is the door, they counted it wrong, and so there was just more money left over. And so I was just confused. So I went to every band and was like, okay, reopen your envelope and let's count it together.
Yeah.
I don't want you to leave and think that I ripped you off and put less money in there.
Right,
It's
right.
concerned because the thing is, a lot of bands, they don't want to address the situation, so they're like, oh, you know, he underpaid us, like,
Right.
didn't say anything, and it just like...
Right. We'll tell our agent if we have one.
Or we're just going to talk shit and tell our friends and say that he rips off people.
That's true.
And it just, people like run their mouth and they don't understand, they don't want to address the situation and try to resolve it. They'll just be passive about it.
Yeah.
And I have zero tolerance for that. I was like, talk about it, work out the problem. Don't go on a field day being like, fuck that guy and fuck this.
Yeah.
And it definitely takes time, but when you have people that don't know how to communicate, it's very difficult because
Right.
they tell you something is okay and it's not.
How did you, like, because, you know, I'm definitely interested in, like, because, I mean, as you were saying, as you're experiencing a lot of this, like, you know, I mean, anytime a person, quote unquote, rises to prominence in the sense of, like, you know, like, once you started to make a name for yourself where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, people knew who you were, I'm sure that shit bothered you for a while. Or did you always have that attitude where it's just like, I'm just going to ignore this?
I've always had to ignore this. I had one, it was like, confidence level was really low because at one point I thought everyone had like a judgment about me.
Sure.
And I was really just like worried, and it was like when FYF was getting popular, I just didn't feel comfortable. I just felt like...
Well, I'm sure at that point too, because like I look at it from this perspective where it's like, you know, once you're able to like give a person something, they're going to treat you differently. Like no matter what that may be.
Dude, it's 100% that way.
Yeah.
And so in 2009 and 10, I had pretty low confidence because I just felt like I was constantly being judged, and this is just me working it up in my mind. And
Yeah.
No one, at the end of the day, no one fucking cares who you are, what band you're in, what you do. No one gives a shit. Like maybe like the small select group of people that do. And then I realized I was like, the bands that are like this medium size that can sell at the Echo or Troubadour, that have this chip on their shoulder and think that they're almighty, and then you meet these bands that can sell out arenas or sell out like multiple nights at the Palladium. They're just really humble people that are able to find out who they are and able to have relationships with people and have conversations and not feel like someone's always getting something out of them.
Right. It's like a human thing.
It's a human to human, and I was just like, I realized that. I was like, yeah, dude, I'm no different. I'm just a person. This is like, I found something that I like doing. I like doing shows. Granted, there's other things I'm far more interested in. And like, I look at other people's lives. It's like the Modest Mouse song. Other people's lives are so interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you're a doctor and you work at ER. It's incredible. Or
Right.
you're a veterinarian, or you do this. It's like when you tell me you work for PETA, I was like, that's great. It's like there's times where I just feel like I just do shows, but then it's like, okay, we're able to raise money for charities. We're able to do this. Like, I'm just a person. This is what I do. Like, I provide entertainment, but I try to make it more intimate and unique and interesting. Bennett started working here 2 months ago, and he brought back something that we used to do as the FYF Members Club. Yeah. And we just started doing that again.
I was impressed with that. I got that at the show that I went to last night, and I was like, it's great. Like, it's so great.
And then, the whole thing is that it's just to get kids stoked. Like, oh, I'm going to an FYF show. Fuck yeah. And like I used to make posters for every show, just hand them out to kids outside. We pass out mixtapes to kids. Yeah. And just to get kids psyched. That was like I just want kids to go to shows because I felt when I started going to shows in the 90s, there was a vibe there. Yeah. There was people standing in front of the PCH and Showcase selling zines. There was just like, it felt good.
I mean, I like the point that you're making where you want kids to have an experience at a show that's obviously like authentic, it's coming from the right place, as opposed to like, you know, where it's like you go to a show and then it feel, you know, it's an experience, but it's like a manufactured experience.
Dude, it's totally, you want people to walk away from it like, I'm not doing this, I don't care about money. Like, obviously I want to survive, I want to be able to pay the bills, but I could be doing something else, and I can find a different career path. Right. I want kids to walk away that they're having the best experience possible. Like, my goal with FYF, it's like, how can I build the best festival possible? In my mind, it's like, okay, I love Dinosaur Jr., I love Against Me, I love Nicholas Jar, I love Black Mountain, Father John Misty, like Refused, American Nightmare, whatever. In my mind, that was like the favorite show. Right. And I was like, this festival doesn't take place anywhere else in the country. My goal with FYF is just to build something that a kid can look forward to. Not just this like, okay, we have this band, we want your money, we're going to sell you this brand that's inside, you're going to drink a lot, and we're going to be really fucking stoked because we're going to make $2 million off the 40,000 people show. It's like, no, I just want to put together something interesting. And I've failed. FYF has failed numerous times because it's just like, you have to grow and you learn from it. Like the first year in the park, we lost $100,000. There's no financial backer. It was me. And I didn't have $100,000. I was fucked. And I was just like, every vendor that we owed money to, I was like, I'll go on a payment plan. I'll pay you back. Yeah. And I took out a loan. and paid the loan back, paid every vendor, every person I owed $1 to, paid them. Didn't leave anyone hanging.
Yeah.
And they were like, thank you. And I paid it off in like 7 months, worked my ass off, practically killed myself coming up with that money.
Right.
I worked jobs that I hated, but I was like, I need to pay this back.
Right.
Because I don't want my name to be damaged. I don't want someone to associate, he rips people off. He writes bad checks.
Right.
I'm not that person. I write good checks. And granted, there is times when you operate a business and you have so much money up in the air that a check's going to bounce. Call the person, tell them when the money's going to be paid, pay it.
Yeah.
Stick to it.
Right.
So,
And that's obviously why the festival and the shows that you promote have been able to grow. But I wanted to go further back to where it's like you were like born and raised, like Torrance area?
yeah, Torrance, South Bay.
Okay. And what was your family structure? You're an only child? Your brother?
No, I have an older brother that's 3 years older than me. My mom's from Brazil. She was born and raised in Rio de Janeiro, and that's where my mother and my father met in
That's pretty
80.
That's pretty exotic.
And my mother was a model, and my dad was a photographer for
Oh,
an agency.
shut the fuck up!
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And so my mom was really young. She was 18. My dad, I don't even can't remember like the ages.
Yeah.
And then my mom wanted to get out of Rio. The crime was really bad then.
Right.
And it was just her brother had been killed, and just like family members were just
terrible
yeah, and
stuff.
it was just not it was not a good place. So they came to America, moved to Coral Gables, Florida, Miami area. That's when my other family lived in the Bible Belt of Florida and Lakeland, in between Tampa and Orlando. And so they moved. They lived in Florida and had my brother out there in Miami. And then they moved there. My mom worked for a cruise agency out of Miami in the ports because she was bilingual. And so for all of the foreigners that went on the cruises, and she heard about it, she wanted to move to Los Angeles, and so they moved to Sherman Oaks, and she'd heard how great it was, but didn't realize how hot Sherman Oaks was. My dad got a job at Hughes Aircraft.
Oh, okay.
And he worked there, and they found out about this place, Torrance. That's 85 degrees all year round. That's this oasis. And this is in like 83, 84.
Okay.
And like Torrance was like very middle class.
Sure.
It was when I believe NASA was there.
Mm-hmm.
NASA was the big corporation that was there.
Yeah.
And so it was very working class, but it was like the standard American town. And it had like a really old time feeling. Granted, it's turned to commercialism now. I still find a beauty in it because I was from there.
Well, of course, you're always going to have.
Yeah, exactly.
That's. I mean, I was born in Vegas, and it's like that. People obviously can easily talk shit on that town. And I was
but
like,
you find a beauty in it.
I love it.
It's like you've Randall's Donuts. We have the only 7-Eleven that has the Dr Pepper Slurpee. I fucking
Totally.
I'm proud of that moment. And me
Right.
and Bennett just had a conversation about how great the Dr Pepper Slurpee is.
Yeah.
In the summertime, it's mind blowing.
Of course.
And so it's just like they met. I lived there, and luckily I didn't have to move as a kid and bounce around.
Yeah.
And so stayed there. And
so what was your mom working with the cruise line like once?
No, she moved here and she went to fashion school and started working. Parents separated when I was 4.
Okay.
And she started working for Pepe Jeans and was a fashion designer.
Yeah.
And my dad, when my parents got divorced, focused on screenplay writing. He's a screenplay writer.
Oh, okay.
And so we stayed in Torrance. And then
Stayed in Torrance with your mom or your dad?
Both. They both lived in Torrance, but I lived with my dad. But
so you kind of like split time on
just
both of them?
joint custody.
Got it.
And I discovered music when I was in 5th grade. I remember my brother he had a small business of selling fireworks to local kids in the neighborhood.
I like the fact, once you said small business, I was like, I can't wait to hear what this is.
And he would get a hold of like the flowers and the smoke bombs and M80s and just sell them to kids. And one kid was like, I don't have any money, I'll give you this CD. I'll give you these 2 CDs. My brother liked Red Hot Chili Peppers. That was the only band he liked.
Right.
And because they were the fucking biggest band in 1994.
Of course, yeah.
And
Under
they
the
wore
bridge.
socks on their dicks, exactly.
Yeah.
And so he gives me the CDs. It's Punkorama 1 and Generator by Bad Religion.
Oh,
and
dude, great.
I go into my room and it's Christmas. He gave it to me. So he get 2 CDs given to him for selling fireworks, and he's like, I didn't give my brother a Christmas present.
He re-gifts. So good.
But it was the best gift ever. And
Yeah.
I just remember Punkorama had Do What You Want,
Yep.
and I didn't like the rest. Punkorama, I just loved Bad Religion,
and
got Generator, was hooked, went out and bought All Ages. Still to this day, one of the best compilations.
Unbelievable.
And granted, I'm not a terribly big fan of their work today. I respect them, and
of course, right.
But All Ages is just fucking hits such a good note.
Totally.
And became such a big fan. And then, in 6th grade, 5th grade was really into, Bad Religion, was discovering other punk rock. But it was really, when you get into junior high, for most kids, they're insecure, and they're going to like what their friends like.
Oh,
and
totally.
So immediately when I got into junior high, I was like, I like Sublime because everyone else likes Sublime.
Of course.
And I was like, this is the coolest band ever. I was like, this is fucking awful.
Right.
I like WWF.
Right.
I was just a huge WWF fan, and like
Okay.
I found like my few friends that liked WWF, we didn't like music, so it was just like WWF.
All in junior high, that's what you were dedicated to.
Yeah, but it was actually, it was in 7th grade. And the band that changed, I was a big fan of Bad Religion, but that didn't change my life. What changed my life was the first day of 7th grade, I got Boogada 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 by Screech and Weasel.
Nice.
And they hit the song, Goes Back to How I Met You, I Want to Be Naked.
Yeah.
And I heard that song and I was like, fuck yes, this is me.
Right.
It's fun, it's exciting, it's punk.
Yeah.
I can go crazy, I can act stupid.
Sure.
And then at that moment, I discovered everything on Lookout, everything on every record label, every zine, every ad in Maximum Rock and Roll.
Well, yeah, the
the
world opens up.
The world opens up, and it was pre-internet. I didn't have internet in my house, so anything I can get my hands on.
Of course.
And it was just taking it in, going to the record store, and I found a way to get to listen to new CDs. The guy would rewrap them so he would open it up with keeping the barcode. And I just want to take everything in and saving up my money and washing cars in the neighborhood to get CDs. And so it was just like an encyclopedia of music. I was like, I couldn't get enough of discovering the Misfits and discovering all the Southern California hardcore, being introduced to Black Flag and Descendants. It all happened just in a matter of like 3 months of taking it in, and I was like, this is the best music ever.
And so what were you, like, in high school, were you, because, I mean, you always strike me, like, not like you were always trying to be the center of attention, but you, like, were you class clown in high school? Like,
no, I never wanted to be, like, the center of attention. Like, it just shows I just did humorous shit.
Right.
And in high school, I was, the kids that I was friends with in junior high that were really into punk rock, and that were, like, my friends, we were, like, in junior high, a massive group of 20 friends. So when we got into high school, I was getting more into hardcore and, like, Revelation and Gorilla Biscuits and Snapcase in discovering new music, and they were discovering partying and all of that, and I was like, I want nothing to do with this lifestyle. Like,
interesting.
And I was like, I'm not interested in it at all. And in 9th grade is when I discovered the PCH Club, and I was closed-minded in the sense of like I didn't accept them, and they were like, oh, he's going to see some fag band. I remember it was like a tipping point, like 2 months into high school, it was like, this isn't working for us to hang out. Like, you guys want to like drink beers and you guys do your thing. I was just like anti that. Right. And later we became friends. I'm still like very close with those people today. Like those are like my best friends. But we took like 3 years off.
Yeah, it's like a full, right.
You need to grow as a human being and understand other people and respect their decisions. And so I started going to the PCH every weekend. And it was like, it didn't matter. I remember seeing Myra and Discount, and one of my favorite shows of all time at the PCH. Yep. And being introduced to Discount and like Half Fiction and Crash Diagnostic. Hugely influential records for me. And just like the Mercy Devils, Le Shock. I fucking hated Le Shock.
Oh, terrible,
because they were always so bad.
Yeah.
But I loved Andrew, and I loved how nice he was. Yeah. And then, like, you would see these bands, but it was just, I loved it.
Well, I like the idea, you hit on a very important point in regards to, like, kids, and I mean, I know this still exists, but it's like where you would just go to a venue because that's what you do. You're like, oh, there's a show tonight? I'm going there.
There's live music. It's Friday, and I can go out tonight. And like I can come home at midnight, and I can see every band, and I can talk to people. And then I also felt like a sense at the PCH. Didn't matter that I was 15. I can talk to someone that was 22, and we can hang out. And like just in wanting to know more information, discovering February 4th or 5th, 2000. Nerve Agents.
Oh, okay.
No Reply.
Kill Your Idols, probably?
No. The Kill Your Idols was on the next one.
Right.
Over My Dead Body's first show.
Oh, okay.
And it was one of their... It was 99 or 2000. One of
sure.
Now I'm thinking, I was like, oh, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But, like, it was amazing. And I thought No Reply was the funniest band that I had ever seen.
Totally.
And, like, the jokes that they were saying was just... I was like, this band is hysterical. And
totally.
Nerve Agents... mind-blowing.
Yep.
And I was like, this is where I want to be. And I was closed-minded then because I was judging like the other people. And like I feel all kids at that age, their insecurities, and like you feel like you have to pass judgment.
Of course.
And I've learned like to accept anyone. Whatever you want to do, whatever you love, whatever you believe in, that's totally cool.
Right.
Like don't preach it, don't push it on other people. I respect it. I like totally open-minded.
Sure.
And so I was really quiet in high school, like the first 3 years.
Okay.
It was kind of strange in my high school, and I look back and like I smile because I was like the punk hardcore kid. There's no one else that listened to it.
Right.
And then there was like 3 metalheads that were really into Tool and Sepultura and like Death and Meshuggah. And then there was like the 3 raver kids that like really...
There was like each subset of subcultures.
But we all hung out behind the library, and none of us hung out on weekends, but at school, we were the losers. Like, people, and the thing was, we came together because then people couldn't fuck with us.
Right.
And because I remember like someone tried to pick on me, and like the metalheads were like, fuck you, what are you going to do about it? And I was like, yeah, what are you going to do? Suck it. Like,
right.
Just being a total smartass. I got beat up quite a few times freshman year because I didn't have the crew.
Right.
And I was just like, I remember just getting shit thrown at me and just wearing my Avail shirt. Every day I wore an Avail shirt that was Poor Ugly Happy. And people thought I was saying I was available and I was Poor Ugly Happy. Didn't register in my mind that. But when you're in 9th grade...
Yeah, I would never... Yeah, we know it's a band.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you mean? You don't realize this is... But in their mind...
Of course.
Pimpleface is saying that he's available and then he's Poor Ugly Happy.
Holy
and so,
shit,
in a high school of 2,000 kids... They do not register that you are a band.
No.
You just see a font. There's no logo. There is nothing there.
Yeah.
In my mind, the greatest band of all time. I'm representing the shirt because you have to wear the shirt. And wearing my queer sweatshirt did not go over well at all.
No, I can imagine.
I fucking wore that with pride.
Right.
I'm pretty sure though my dad was tired of just like he didn't care what I wore, but he was like, I'm gonna hide this one from him because he's getting beat up too much right now.
Right.
And because I would talk shit. Like if someone said anything to me, I would,
you've always been very open, and like that's the one thing I've always struck me about you too, where it's just like I'm not gonna mince my words.
I got knocked down quite a few times.
Right.
Freshman year, and then like by senior year, I was very comfortable with myself, and I was just like, I don't care about what people think or judge. I'm just gonna have fun with this. I'm
gonna do me.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear Daisy Dukes every day and just be and just do shit that is fucking hysterical. And then the pranks started happening, and then that's when I remember the day before Christmas, my friends and I, the day before school started from holiday break, we buried 50 Christmas trees inside the school and put them all over the school. So when people came, there was Christmas trees everywhere. But the faculty did not find this.
No. They were like...
And then we did other stuff. I did a lot of high school pranks and just... I can go into detail, all the stuff that we did, just very teenage-like.
Yeah.
Off record, we chopped down a high school flagpole with a chainsaw. That was the end of the pranks because that's when we knew we were.
You're like, okay, this is like next level serious. Like we probably shouldn't have done that.
But they ran an ad, and now I can talk about it. It's been 10 years, and it's not.
Yeah, statute of limitations.
Yeah, exactly. But they ran an ad they ran a piece in the newspaper asking for people to come to if they knew any information about it.
Yeah.
Everyone in the class. In all the classes in high school, write down what they think that it was. One of my friends that cut down the flagpole with us thought it was funny to go pose for pictures on the stub that was left. It's like, Donovan, you're gonna get us.
Yeah, dude, you can't return to the scene of the crime, bro.
He's just like this, posing. I was like, this is how you get arrested.
Right, totally.
The only thing my dad asked me to do was graduate high school, not fuck it up.
Right. But did your parents as you were, because obviously the common conception when you start to get into stuff that your parents don't have any concept of, was it difficult? Were they just kind of all right, Sean seems to be safe for the places that he's going, we'll kind of trust him?
Well, in between 9th and 10th grade. So in 9th grade, I started writing for different zines and going to shows, and I found a scam to get free CDs from record labels by calling them and saying I did a zine.
A zine, of course.
And then I got 9,000 CDs, and I became friends with Charlie Ackerman at Epitaph. In June of 2000, I was at a show at the Palace, and Charlie and I immediately hit it off. He's an amazing human being. And he's like, what are you doing this summer? I was like, I don't know. He's like, you want to intern at Epitaph? I was like, yeah.
Of course.
He's like, how old are you? I was like, doesn't matter. He's like, cool, just be there every day at 10 o'clock. And I was like, cool. So the following Monday, I get there at 9 a.m., and he doesn't show up till 10:30. And I'm just sitting there, and the receptionist's like, he's been here an hour and a half. I was like, what's up, man?
Yeah,
he's
I'm
like,
enthusiastic. I'm ready.
And he's just like, what are you doing here? I was like, you told me you want me to work here. And I didn't realize he was drunk when he told me that.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, all right, we're going to figure this one out. Come with me. And so for the first, I worked there for 2 months in the summertime. Mm-hmm. And when I stopped interning there, they realized it was a liability to have a 15-year-old intern.
Of course.
And they're like, here's $1,000 to start your own zine. You've done a lot of work here. You've worked here for free. We know how much you like writing.
Yeah.
Do your zine, The Blacklist, that you keep talking about. And I was like, $1,000. Because, my mind was, I didn't want to sell zines in front of shows. Mm-hmm. I wanted to print them for free on newsprint and give them away to everyone, so everyone can enjoy it. And my concept is just like I want to be able to give more, and so then it was like all went to like the cost of printing. Granted, I didn't know anything about writing or zines.
Well, no, right.
Yeah,
That'll come later.
That'll come later.
Yeah.
They gave that to me as like a gift for leaving, which was incredibly inspiring and awesome of them. That was in 2000, and then so all throughout the 2000s and going to shows in like high school, it was really quiet. No one in my school knew I did the zine. I only had like a couple friends, like the Metalheads and the Weirdos. Right. They didn't even know I did the zine. I kept it like a secret. And so by senior year, I was like, I like Prince, I like Frank Zappa, I like Nick Cave, I like all these different styles of music. I discovered the Replacements. I discovered like my musical horizon was just not punk rock anymore. It wasn't just a metal. It was like everything, Bob Dylan. Everything was like coming and being inspiring. Mm-hmm. And I was comfortable with myself. And we did like that's when I started to feel like who I was, and I was comfortable. Because at shows I could be myself. Right. And at school I couldn't be. And I just like to laugh. Right. I don't want to be the center of attention, but like I just want to laugh with my friends. Right.
And so did your parents like understand what you were doing, or they were just like,
what? My mom was kind of just like I only saw her like once every 2 weeks, so she was just like whatever, like, be safe. My dad, on the other hand, was just like graduate high school. He was tired of the school calling me,
the shenanigans.
Fuck, dude, they called. I'll never forget. The dean calls my dad, and it's in May of senior year, and she puts my dad on speakerphone, and the dean's like, "Mr. Carlson?" He's like, Sean's in here, and we believe he stole a walkie-talkie from a security guard. Can you help? This is the best part. Can you help get it back? And he's like, this is the best part. He's like, you deal with it. Hangs up. And the dean looks at me, and there's 2 security guards in there looking at me, and the security guard that I stole it from, which they can't prove. Right. And they're like this, even your parents have given up on you. And I was like, all right. Can I go back to class? You guys got nothing on me.
This is incredible.
And they didn't have anything on me. And so
did you, I mean, like, all joking aside, like, did you have did you have an all right relationship with your father, or he was kind of like
my dad and I really, I was very respectful. I didn't do anything like I pulled pranks. I did stuff that's
right. I mean, it's
never
juvenile.
Anything, right. Never just being like, never drunk in high school, never stoned in high school, never doing anything like to fuck up myself. Didn't drive, so I wasn't driving drunk or anything like that. Right. And come on, like there was a lot of times where I'd be at a show and hanging out and socializing at Del Taco afterwards or wherever, and come home at 4 a.m. and not understand the concept of time. And the rule was I remember one time coming home at like 5 a.m. Right. And I was just talking with a girl about music and she introduced me to the Mountain Goats, and it was mind blowing in my mind. Got home at like 5:30. Sure. And my dad's like, "How was it?" I was like, "It was cool." Yeah. And he was like, "Cool, you got to be at school in an hour and a half. Right. If you don't go to school, you don't live here." And I was like, "All right, I respect that," because it was just like,
yeah. So it sounds like he obviously was like, there will be parameters that you should live under, but like you need to do these things, like graduate high school.
No, he was really clear about that, and he was really clear of just like, don't fuck up, right, and really like, and I didn't do. There was like times like, I never had any trouble with the law. Like there was, I just did stuff that was like silly. Like we went to a city hall board public hearing, and they were going to close a local library. And I went and I called, like, I got up on the podium and I told my 2 cents, and they like, next, and they're really rude to me. And then an old woman walked up there and started stuttering right after me. Yeah. And before she could talk, the mayor said, next. I went back up there, he's like, you already talked? I was like, no, I got something else to say. And he's like, what's that? I was like, I think you're treating everyone with disrespect. And the whole room goes, yeah, like on the Simpsons. Yeah. And I was like, you know what, you're not treating us with, like, the way that we should be treated. You're writing up this library, you're going to tear it down and build it a parking lot. Everyone's like, yeah. And I was like, and I felt really good. I was like, and I think you're an asshole. And the place goes quiet, and it's live on city cable, and everyone is just like, no one did. Yeah, no one was like, whoa. And then all of a sudden, I get grabbed by the back of the neck, and I get taken out, and they pull me into a different room. They're like, you're never allowed to come to City Hall again. You're off the property. You will be prosecuted if you do. And my dad's like, there you go on fucking TV and call the mayor an asshole. Right. Good job.
That's incredible. That's so good.
And so he just shook his head. It was just like,
yeah.
But like,
so did you have like in your own mind, like, did you? You basically were just like, all right, in high school, like, obviously, once I graduate, once I fulfill that commitment, I just want to be involved in music in some fashion.
I really wanted to be involved in music, and animals, like, definitely, like, are a massive inspiration. I've been vegetarian since I was really young. And, the situation across the country with how the neglect and this, like, the it's just so sad how many animals are euthanized and put to sleep.
Totally.
And so, but it was like the same thing with homelessness. There's so many factors that are going on in this country all over the world. So I was like, I want to do something for a good cause. I want to inspire people, and hopefully I can be the stepping stone that people are like, hey, I can do something different. I don't have to do that. Going to school is great. Going to college is awesome. And finding a career because it keeps you focused and dedicated, and you understanding understanding who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like with FYF and these things, I hope people can see that and be able to find it inspiration. And I didn't know I was going to do a festival. I did a zine. I wanted to write zines and go on tour. And like 3 months after I graduated high school, was in October, finally got my driver's license. And my dad had a station wagon. He's like, okay. And I told him I made this fabricated story that I was going to San Francisco to see this girl that I really liked.
Sure.
And I would tell this girl to call me at certain times every day because I didn't have a cell phone. I had an answer machine
Right.
that rang out throughout the house. And she's like, hey, I miss you, Sean. It's Aaron. Call me back. So he thinks I'm in a relationship.
Right.
I knew how to deceive things.
Right. You know how to play the game.
He didn't know that I just released a zine and that I had 5,000 copies of my zine. I was traveling across the country and mapped out a tour without telling any of the bands I was following them on, including like Weaker Thins Against Me, Death Cab, Panther, all over the country. Convinced 3 friends to come with me, and we drove across the country for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And selling zines at every show.
I remember. It's funny. Like I remember that. Like you were, you did stuff outside of the norm, quote unquote, and everything you did was overly ambitious and stupidly ambitious.
Yeah. Oh, I trust me. I know.
No, I know. I don't need to tell you that, but it was just like
I did the FYF tour, and I own a fucking school bus. And converted to veggie oil and drove across the country. And it was like some nights there was 11 people at the show. But like in hindsight, like it's pretty fucking amazing that the bands that we had come together. Like like one of the like main writers for 30 Rock in a massive comedian, Hannibal Buress, was on that tour. That was his first exposure out of Chicago, and he makes fun of me on his Comedy Central special and talks shit about me. Like things like that.
That's incredible. Yeah,
but like,
but I see. But what makes that so awesome is the fact that it's just like you know whatever like public failures you have had. Like I mean, for one, obviously you've never hid that, but I mean, obviously you've learned so much because of those failures. But it puts it out there for everybody to. Like you said, inspire and learn and create their own.
Failure is something that's really important, and you have to accept it. Granted, you don't want to be like, "Oh, I failed," but like it's like, okay, now we got to rework the plan. What do we do differently? Like, we need to look at the big picture. How do we make sure that this works in the future and we don't hit these mistakes again?
Totally.
Because it's one thing to fail once, another thing to fail twice. That's a fucking problem.
Right.
And with like the tour, I was tired of living in the suburbs. I was really like I just saw.
You just want to get out.
I just saw this massive like the country, and the strangest thing in my mindset is like we planned this whole trip. Canada didn't get discussed once. Like going to Toronto, it was just like America. We're going to,
right?
And I was just like we were so like naive. This is gonna make you laugh. I'm gonna show you something. This is gonna blow your fucking mind right now. So when we did the tour. We didn't have a Thomas guide. We didn't have a cell phone.
Right.
We had the internet at the libraries that we went to. Oh, this is not the one.
Oh,
Hold on. Okay. Anyway, so we had a map like this of the country.
Just highlighted, I'm sure.
That's how we got to each city. Was this map like this, not breaking down. I remember driving into Philadelphia. And we're driving in, and we had the map, and then all of a sudden we're in Delaware. And some people in the car were like, Sean, why are we going to Delaware? I was like, if you look at the freeways, it seems like this freeway goes to Philadelphia. And it's like, there's like 4 freeways going to Philadelphia.
Right.
And it's like, we don't even know where, like, we would literally look at the map as close as possible and be like, I think this one goes...
Does anybody have a magnifying glass?
I think this one goes to the city. And we would just pull into the city and talk to kids in front of shows, sell zines, find a place to sleep that night, and that's how we got by.
Yeah.
And we sometimes knew someone, sometimes, like, I remember going to the fest the first time in Gainesville. And just showing up, and it was the second year, and just meeting kids, and just being like, oh, where are you staying tonight? Cool, can we stay with you? Right. And so it was just like, you'd write down numbers, and I guess, oh, blah, blah, blah lives in Atlanta. You're going there, right? Stay with her. Blah, blah, blah lived an hour outside of Atlanta. Right. So when we get there, it's like, hey, where do you live? And calling them at like 11 o'clock at night, it's like, oh, I live in, like,
Huntsville. Right,
It's like, no, this isn't Atlanta. We're fucking exhausted. exhausted. We've been driving all night. And it just shit like
yeah.
that. And so, like, we had that, and we slept in the car numerous nights, and we realized on that tour, I was like, the safest places were hotel parking lots because they were secure, and if you parked under the light, we slept in the Mississippi in New Orleans because we were just stupid and drunk and young, and just did
it's that idea that obviously that spirit of youth, the sort of reckless abandon where it's like you said, you have a plan, and I use that in air quotes,
but there's no real plan, and there's no responsibility. Your responsibility is to wake up and just
exist,
and exist. And like it's like now I have a house, I have rent, I have employees, I have insurance, I have all of this, and if I just disappeared, there would just be this repercussion chain, like
right.
all this. Then I could disappear, and not one person was affected, other than my dad, who had no idea where I was.
Right.
And he was definitely not too happy about the trip. And
I could imagine.
There's nothing romantic at all to him about me stealing his car, and then calling him from Braintree, Massachusetts, and him asking me where I was, and I was like, he's like, where are you? Like San Francisco, Portland. I was like, Braintree. He's like, Braintree, Massachusetts. I was like, can you wire me money? And he's just like, goodbye. I was just like, all right, I can handle that one. I can get by. I'm good. I got halfway. I can get back.
Right.
I got back, and
that's amazing. I like the party lifestyle. Like is totally imminent within this rock culture. What's been interesting and like watching you grow as an individual is like, I mean, you never like, even though you obviously did party and you had fun, but you're never swallowed by that.
It was the final.
Or did you ever feel like you were too close that you had to pull away? Like
there wasn't that I felt too close that I had to pull away. There was times where I just felt that I was really like. There was times where I was sad, and I was just getting like just hanging out with like the wrong people that were just encouraging like alcohol and like getting drunk. And in their mind, it's like more power to them. If you want to do that, and you want to live that path. Like there's nothing wrong with it. Just sit down. And there was a period where I was going out every weekend. I was getting drunk for the wrong reasons. I'm fine. Like I really enjoy just like having a drink. If I can just have like a glass of wine or just have like something, and that where I just feel like okay, cool. I'm just socializing. And there's times where it's like the moment is right and where people like you want to let loose. But it's like not when it becomes a regular thing and you're doing it all the time, and it just really lost like interest in that. And I just felt like it. Like my best friend in the world is Brian Munson, Mustache. Yep. And he and I we grew together, and there was a moment like where he was partying a lot and I was partying a lot.
But so you were introduced to meditation,
and it's I don't take it as seriously. He goes to the temple and not like anything religious, but goes and meditates once a week. I try to go to yoga once every other week. He goes 2 to 3 times a week. He's just fucking
just in it,
all muscle, can do things with his body, but he's the most focused individual I know. He's just very like, this is what I need to do to complete. This is what makes me happy. Like, and then I learned a lot from him. He's like, don't let little things bother you. And that's when I started learning in the past like 2 years. I was like, I don't care if people talk shit, what people's opinions are on FYF. I just want to create something that's inspiring, and if it makes me happy, great. If I'm not happy with what I'm doing, then I shouldn't be doing it. And there is times where you have to do things where it's like, okay, I'll work on a project that necessarily, like I do at times curating projects for different companies where it's like, I need to make money to survive, so I can focus on doing the creative punk shows, and sometimes it don't make money, but I was like, I have this cushion where I can need to be like, I don't care.
Whatever. This is not worth it.
And the person is like, it's not worth. I don't want to drive there, and it's like,
I'm not sweating the small stuff.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, I think the most compelling and important part of obviously like what it is that you do, you're pursuing these things that are obviously like meaningful to you, and you've been able to grow it to where it's large, but it's manageable still.
It's manageable. I mean, it's a really small team that we have, and like working with Golden Voice on the festival is great because I was tired of dealing with the city, dealing with production and invoicing. I'm very hands-on with everything, like every little detail of the festival. I'm a part of it. I'm informed, but there's things I'm absurdly detail oriented. And last year I kind of let go of a few things, and it made me very unhappy. So this year I was just like going full force. I was like, we need to have meetings, we need to have schedules, we need to have everything laid out. We need to address all of the problems from last year. We need to figure out how do we make it improve. Like how do we improve? How do we make the festival better than it is? Because right now we're at, I feel 65%. We need to get this to 85% next year, and then we need to continue to improve each year. I want people to go and be excited when they leave. I don't want like any of the problems we had last year, we're fixing them. And we were like, everyone saw eye to eye with it. I was like, okay, we know what we need to fix. We had some major fucking problems last year. At the end of the day, people walked away happy. Granted, there were some things that made me extremely angry.
Sure.
And I was like, fixing them, because when you try to manage 25,000 people a day,
it's not.
Things slip through the cracks. So it's also, I learned, not trying to conquer the world. And there was one point where I was like, oh, I'll do this show, I'll do this show, I'll do this. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do all the shows. It was like the original Infest show. It was just like, I call, I was like, dude, this sounds awesome. But like, you guys, I just want to go. Like, I don't need to do it. And there's a lot of times where I was just like, I don't need to do the show. I don't need to do everything.
Well, I think that's a super important point for people to realize, where it's just like and I think it's especially indicative of people that are in like, you know, punk, hardcore, whatever, independent music culture, where people do like 15 things. Like, you know, they have their fingers in a million different pies, and like there's obviously nothing wrong with that if you feel like you have it somewhat manageable. But then when you can like actually pull away and be like, I don't need to do these 10 things. I can do these 5 things or whatever.
I can do just a couple things and be really content.
Yeah.
Or I can delegate the work and like working with Bennett. I don't need to post anything on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm not going to remember the fucking show can go on sale for 2 more weeks because I'll forget about it.
Right.
It's like, he does such a great job doing that. And it's having people, and like there's previous employees that killed it as well, and that really helped mold the company and like be able to get to that point. Because I want to be thinking about the creative, and I want to be thinking about like, what do we do to make tomorrow better? And then it's important to grow, that you trust the employees that you have, and that you can be able to get things done. And FYF is continuing to grow.
Right.
And like this past year, I saw like a lot of changes and things that needed to get done, and what our focus were. Really, what are our goals, and how do we make this festival better? How do we make the show experience better? And it's going to take 1 year to really get that plan worked out. But I think by the 2014 we'll be there, and be able to make it that. Like, and it's also doing select shows, not trying to do everything.
Right.
Like, I'm fine with losing money on a show I believe in. If I'm just doing a show and it's like, what?
Right. What? Like,
what?
yeah.
Like,
why?
Like Ohm and Sunara next week. It's like, fuck yeah, that. I want to go. Like, if I'm gonna do a show, I want to go there. I want to believe in it, and I also want to introduce kids to new music and like finding that way to doing it. And it's tough because how fast technology is moving. Like, I have a blog. I don't even have Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, fucking he does that. I don't have it. Like, dude, we made an FYF Instagram, and I took a photo of like a stage being built. I was like 2 days, and then didn't put a photo up for like a week. And then someone was like, your festival Instagram should be documenting the festival.
Right.
And I was like,
oh yeah. He was like, got it. Yeah.
Didn't think about it.
Yeah.
The last thing on my mind.
Like, I'm not a social media guy. Like, that's just not me.
Not me, man.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, but I mean, I just.
You can't do everything. And
no.
Yeah.
You let things go, and then you obviously like you figure out what makes you happy, and how you, like you said, you try to achieve these goals and like mimic what has influenced you and has brought you to where you're at now.
Yeah, and it's also, and challenges are incredibly important. Like, what do we do? Because I never want to repeat myself.
Yeah.
And that was really difficult this past year with FYF. I was like, I want to do something different with the festival. I want to go after bigger bands. I want to make it more eclectic. I want to be able, like, I'm heavily influenced by electronic music, but like Autechre and the early Warped records, things that relate heavily to punk rock and DIY aesthetic. And so it's like, how do I bring these artists into the festival setting where they're not alienated and people just don't look at them like they're this like weird individual? So we're trying to find that balance and slowly working that out. And it's a slow but interesting process, and I feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And it's just fine. Like, I guess I'm going to say with it, it's like some people have this long 5-year plan. I'm just going like, okay, we've got some things we got to do.
Year, sure.
Year to year, because things come up, things change, relationships change, how you like view people, and it's really important just to have like a grasp of it. Because I used to be so all over the place and scatterbrained and being like, oh fuck, how am I going to take care of this and this?
Yeah.
And now it's like, I got the phone behind you. I love talking on the landline because it's cold plastic on my ear.
Yep.
Like this, I always feel rushed. I'm like, God, I want to get
I want to get this off my face.
Yeah, and it's like, let's talk through this. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah. Everything you're saying is just indicative of like what happens when you grow up. Like, you get perspective, like you understand the world more, and everything that you've tried to do in the past and failed or succeeded. Yeah, there's only one last thing I wanted to hit on.
Okay. Anything that you want to talk about.
Oh no, for sure. But the community has always obviously been an important part of like not only your upbringing, but then obviously like what FYF like symbolizes. And the I just think it's like, I look across the country and it's like, realistically there's only a few, like you look at R5 in Philly.
that was a huge inspiration. And now Sean Agnew and Andy are such close friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk on a regular basis. We stay with each other when we travel.
Yeah.
And like I looked up to Sean. I looked up to Graham Williams, who does Fun. And it's strange that those are like very close friends of mine now.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was like, wow, these guys work with punk rock and they do like the punk rock flea market, but then they do dance shows and all of this. And I was like,
Right.
and so level-headed and grounded and focused. And I loved that.
Right. There's not very many people that decide to take on the whatever show promotion game and obviously like try to actually give back to their area.
It's safe, secure,
Mm-hmm.
proper shows. That's what's important. It's like, I want the shows, I want people to go and to feel good and not get shut down. Like, I'm all for like the DIY warehouse vibe, but if you have a touring band
Right.
and it gets shut down, it's fucked.
Yeah, they're not pumped.
But no, they aren't pumped because
No.
it's a DIY warehouse. They are fucking bummed because their fans are going to see them. They drove 8 hours to fucking stand around and be told that they can't play. And now they're losing money.
Right.
So it's a lose-lose situation.
Right.
And then I realized like it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, in 2009, I was like, I'm done with this. I don't need to do warehouse shit. I don't need to do anything illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm fine with it having curfews. I'm fine with all that.
Right.
I'm fine with having
I'm fine being above the board.
Yeah, I'm fine with having a barricade. I'm fine. Like, I remember one time seeing Tragedy in Long Beach, and there was just this drunk girl that kept pushing the mic into the guitar player's mouth. He was so polite. He's like, "Can you please stop?" She's like, "Fuck you." And I was like, I don't even want to go to these shows anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in another venue that has smoking inside. They're smoking inside. I'm not going.
I'm
not
yeah.
fucking going. I'm not waking up sick tomorrow. I don't fucking care. I don't want to be around underage drinking that's accepted. I don't. If a kid gets in show, so be it. But like, I don't want to be around it. And the next time Tragedy came through, I did the show with them. It was great. They're paid properly.
Yeah.
And they're paid what they should, not just given an envelope of cash. And it's like,
right.
I work with Limpers every time they come through. Paid extremely well because it's honest and laid out. Because when you go to the warehouse, it's like this really